afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Primescape, a Megaworld Prime RFO webinar on indoor plants and bringing nature into your home. This webinar is hosted by Megaworld Prime, ready for occupancy. Megaworld Prime RFO is the premier sales and marketing group of Megaworld Corporation that exclusively offers easy-to-own and ready units for the city go-getters and forward thinkers who are ready to be independent, ready to start and grow a family, and ready for the future. Just a few reminders before we officially start. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them in the question box on your Zoom control panel. And if we have time, we will try to squeeze in some questions after each speaker. We also have some poll questions throughout the webinar, so we highly encourage you to participate. So let's start. Our host or facilitator for today is a seasoned marketing professional with almost 18 years solid experience gained locally and internationally. Her strength lies in brand building and digital marketing, and by the way, she is also a certified plantita. Let's all welcome Ms. Donna Salgado.
So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Again, I'm Donna Salgado, your host for this afternoon's event. So today, you will hear talks from experts and enthusiasts on topics about health benefits of plants, especially to those who live in the city. We will also have topics on how to style your home with plants and how to care for them. Plus, we have an exclusive sneak peek into the plant collection of two of our guest speakers for today. And of course, we have exciting freebies and gifts for our registered guests, our generous and supportive sponsors and partners. First, I'd like to thank Seed Starter Manila for giving our attendees Seed Starter kits. Seed Starter Manila is dedicated to helping jumpstart your gardening journey through their readily available plant kits. Their vision is to influence the young people by guiding them through the process of growing personal mini gardens. We'd also like to thank the Leafery Manila for the fabric planters given to our attendees today. The plants from Leafery Manila are well-rooted, locally grown, reasonably priced, from classic favorites to the hard-to-find rare ones. So next we have G&H Botanicals. Thank you so much for the jungle fuel that you are going to give our attendees for today. Jungle fuel is a hydrolysate undiluted fish-based plant fertilizer made with a cold fermentation process using G&H Botanicals' own concentrated mix of fresh fish, byproducts from local fisheries and mollusks, diverting what otherwise would be food waste headed to the landfill. First, it is gentle all-around basal fertilizer. It's 100% all-natural organic. It's rich in nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, amino acids, proteins, and more. It enriches the plants and soil with beneficial nutrients and microbes required for plant growth and soil health. You will also get a free indoor plant to complete your plant-filled afternoon with us. And by the way, to complement all of these freebies, we have Casa Apollo and Del Ponting Grow Lights, who will be providing us 15% discount. So this is exclusive to all attendees. You will be provided with the code to access this 15% discount from their collection. So did we get your attention yet? I'm so excited for you to receive our freebie basket or our loot bag. So stay with us in the next couple of hours to learn, have fun, and win exciting prizes. Ayun. So, as you all know, we have invited 5 special guests from the Metro's online plant community. They are made up of different personalities, professions, backgrounds, and what have yous, but they have one thing in common: the love for plants. Are you excited now? Because I really am super excited. Before the start of this event, I was very nervous then because I'm in the presence of 5 people who I'm actually following on IG and have been checking on their feeds every day. and checking all their highlights, checking all the lessons and teachings that they are sharing to their followers. So before I introduce our first speaker, why don't we have a quick poll? So our first poll: what are the reasons that you started taking care or collecting plants? Number 1, is it because you're bored or are you looking for something to do? Number 2, were you inspired by someone? Number 3, health and wellness benefits. Number 4, to beautify your home. Number 5, bragging rights. Number 6, others. Let's see. So number 1 is to beautify homes. Number 2, health and wellness benefits. Number 3 is because they were inspired by someone. And then next is bored. Walang bragging rights. Walang bragging rights. Others lang. Ano kaya yung others na yon? Okay. Yan. So we're very happy to share, no? So during I think it's because of the pandemic then we wanted to, because we are staying at our homes, like hindi na ngayon like a certain percentage of the time, like 100% of the time since last year, almost 100% of the time since last year. So we want to surround ourselves with beautiful things, and plants help beautify our homes. And then next is the health and wellness benefits as well. So in line with that, I won't keep you waiting any longer. I'm excited to introduce our first speaker for today. She is a licensed chemist, guys, a licensed chemist, a medical doctor, and a plant enthusiast who owns the blog Grow Girl. She started her urban gardening journey back in 2015, way back, diba? So before the pandemic even happened. So when she was still a medical student, to help lessen her stress and anxiety, to increase focus in her studies. Currently, she still advocates for a greener Philippines in her blog by encouraging people to fill their urban spaces with plants. So isn't she the perfect speaker for our first topic for today? So let's all welcome Dr. Joanne Blanco.
Hi, Donna. Thank you for that introduction. Hi everyone. Good afternoon to all our attendees. So let me share my screen. So today, I would like to talk to you about happy plants and happy homes. The importance of life with nature for city dwellers. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay. This is just a disclosure slide. I am Dr. Joanne Blanco. I am not an agriculturist. I'm not a botanist. However, I am a medical doctor who has been in this hobby for more than 5 years now. So this afternoon, I would like to share to you everything that I know about plants. To start this talk, I would like to ask this question to everyone. When was the last time you connected with nature? If your answer to this question is just this morning or just recently, then good for you. It may not seem like a problem to many people, but the truth is that keeping a connection to nature can be highly beneficial. Human beings are not machines. We are not robots. We need to maintain at least a small connection to nature in order to feel our best. More than 85% of a person's daily life is indoors. Let this fact sink in. 85%. To be exact, this is on this National Human Activity Patterns Survey, on this pie chart, it is shown that 86.9% is spent indoors with additional of 5.5% in a vehicle. Only 7.6% is spent outdoors. That's just about barely 2 hours of our day. If you will think about that, that's just the time you go out of your house and then when you come back at home. So now more than ever, the pandemic has forced us to stay indoors. So imagine this percentage is even higher now. When a young boy was asked in one of the books of Richard Lowe, why he prefers to play indoors, this was his answer. I like to play indoors better because that's where all the electrical outlets are. even children nowadays prefer to stay indoors because that's where they started. That's what they are used to. So in this book, Richard Lowe emphasizes the nature deficit disorder, which is a reduced awareness and a diminished ability to find meaning in the life around us. This is where the gap is. We are so used to being indoors that we do not appreciate or we do not see what the outdoors look like, what the outdoors can do for us. And the disconnect, this is probably 100 years ago, thousands years. Same question I asked at the start. When was the last time you connected with nature? Probably they will be confused because nature is all they have. They do not have a concept of indoors and outdoors. Because technically, nasa outdoors lang sila. And that's their home. But now, the typical family in an urban area looks like. So technology made us move indoors. But is that bad? Actually, no. That's urbanization. It's not bad. That's how we grow. That's how we advance. It's more convenient and safer for us. But we have to bridge this gap. And how do we do that? I believe we can still live in the convenience of our homes with nature. But first, we have to revisit the definition of nature. Nature is the phenomena of the physical world collectively, including plants, animals, the landscape, and other features. We have to broaden our definition of nature. As you can see in this slide, nature is products of the earth. We need to get away from the idea that nature is out there, that it is something we have to revisit. So we have to rethink nature's roles in our cities. So the solution is to let nature back in. And how do we do that? The start is you actually being here in this webinar and learning on how to to bring plants inside our homes. There's actually a lot of reasons I can tell you, but I tried to condense them into 3 categories this afternoon. The first one is physical health. I nurtured them and they nurture me. This is how I feel about my plants. True wellness begins at home. Just like healthy plants begin with healthy soil, the same goes for us. Our wellness begins where we are planted. I am a big believer of creating a cozy and intentional space that makes me feel supported and inspired. When your home is messy, so is your brain. You are also thrown off the line and it affects so many aspects of your life. But when you surround yourself with plants and nurture them, you become more energized and inspired to take on whatever life throws at you. So, as we all know, plants provide oxygen. This is a very basic information that even our children know. In one study, it was found that patients post-surgery who were placed in rooms with plants healed faster, with shorter hospital stay and lesser need for main medications. So in this study, there were 90 patients who underwent the same type of surgery. Half of them were put in regular rooms and half were put in rooms who were filled with plants. And they reported that they had shorter hospital days and there was lesser need for pain medications. Plants clean the air. As we all know, plants are a natural detoxifier and natural air cleaner. So they reduce the concentrations of volatile organic chemicals and other chemical pollutants. It is one of the problems in urban spaces is poor indoor air quality, but it's not usually addressed because it's something that we do not really think about. But these pollutants are commonly present from new furnitures, home decorations, and household products. These chemicals cause irritation, allergic asthma, and other respiratory problems. And one solution to help reduce this problem is by bringing plants inside our homes. Studies have shown that there is a 35% lower concentrations of these pollutants in rooms filled with plants compared to a similar room without plants. Next is that plants contribute to humidity. Water from the soil makes its way up through the roots of the plants, through the stems, and up to the leaves. This is called transpiration, and it helps in the humidity of indoor air. For those of you who have plants in their homes already, you will observe that when you wake up, even if you have not watered your plants yet, there are tiny water droplets on the leaves. And that's actually transpiration. That's water from the roots and it went up to the leaves. Next benefit is mental health. Help your plants grow and watch your life grow. Plant care is a form of self-care. Taking care of plants is a very meditative experience for me. It calms my nerves, makes me happy when I see new growth or blooms, and I love the way I feel in my home being surrounded with so much life. When I started Grow Girl way back in 2019, I just wanted to document my plant journey. It was more of a personal diary for my plants. Never did I expect to have followers and know people who share the same hobbies, ideas, and love for plants the way that I do. I would post anything from photos to videos, memes, and stories on how I killed my plants. And it is a very humbling experience to know that just like me, other people kill plants too. Gardening is therapeutic. Gardening itself is therapeutic. You know, way back in 2015, when I was still a medical student, my roommate gave me my first plant. 1 week later, it was dead, and that was the start for me. I never gave up on plants since because I cannot accept the idea that I killed a plant. And ever since, I started taking care of plants and making them thrive. It helped so much in my emotional well-being. It helped me overcome negativities in my life, and I was able to radiate more positivity to others. I feel so happy when I see new sprouts, new growth on my plants like this, because when I see them grow, I feel like a part of me grows too. Shopping for pots is therapeutic too. You know, when you get a plant, you're not just getting the plant. You are getting everything that the plant needs. You will for fertilizers, for plant racks, and there are so many things. It's like getting a gadget and getting all the accessories that come with it for the full experience. So this is very therapeutic for me too. I like collecting cute pots, and I also like painting them, just like so. The stress of 2020 has many of us looking for relief among the leaves. People also seem to be engaging with nature more deeply than before the pandemic. It is a silver lining that isolation had us wanting to bring nature back into our lives. And even if some don't continue with gardening after the pandemic, we know and now we realize that taking care of plants is a very good way of coping up with the current situation. Last is visual impact. A life that is green is a life more serene. Let's face it, plants look cute. Plants are a low-cost way to add color and life. They are visually pleasing, and you would be surprised at how much a plant brings a room to life. Your choices of plants are limitless, and there are certain types, size, and color of plants you should consider. For me though, it's the more the merrier. I have a limited space now in the place where I stay in, and this is just the spot where I put all my plants. So that's my theme, the more the merrier. However, you should probably stay and listen to our next speaker so you would know how to style your homes with your plants. So together, let us make a positive impact on Earth today by turning our urban landscapes greener, which are often too dull and boring. In summary, indoor plants have a positive impact in urban spaces and make meaningful contributions in our physical, mental, and emotional well-being. So, to end this talk, I would like to share to you some lessons I learned from plants and gardening. Today, be a plant. Stay grounded, connect to your roots, bend before you break, follow the light, turn over a new leaf, put on some nice colors when you get stressed, enjoy your unique and natural beauty, be resilient, grow, girl. So that's it for my talk. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Doc. Grabe. That was a very nice and comprehensive presentation.
Yes.
As sobrang nakarelate ako. Kasi habang sinasabi mo yung parang you have limited space, ang nagpe-play sa utak ko si Lindsay Lohan saying, the limit does not exist. The limit does not exist.
Yeah, I guess kapag nag-start ka na talaga with plants, you will make a way, you will find a way para mapagkasya mo yan lahat. I just started with a very few plants before just to fill the space I have. And then, syempre, the more you get to know new plants, pag may nakita ka na gusto mo talaga, you will find a way para mapagkasya yan lahat. You will realize there's so much space left pala for new plants.
True. Ang daming nakaka-relate dyan. Maraming tumatango, lalo na sa panelist natin.
Yes.
As you mentioned earlier during your presentation, it's really important to take care of our indoor spaces then because it really affects our health and well-being. And bringing nature into our home is something that it transcends more beyond the pandemic. It's not just because it's the pandemic that we're going to do this. Diba, Doc? So,
yes. Actually, it was nice that during the pandemic, because of isolation, many people went into this hobby. And I personally feel so happy about that. And sana they will continue to do so, even if this pandemic ends. Hopefully it ends soon. And sana they will continue to take care of plants. And sana they appreciate what plants can give and can contribute in our homes.
Maybe, are there any questions from our attendees? Let's see. One of our attendees said that her daughter is more relaxed now, and because her daughter had depression before, she decided to put plants in the window of the bedroom of her daughter. So she has transformed and is now more calm. And actually, I think even the parent is more calm in dealing with her. Tama po ba?
Yeah. Actually, this is good to know. This is nice to know kasi it helps a lot in our mental health talaga. Seeing a new plant, taking care of something, putting all your energy in something, and then seeing them grow, seeing them thrive. It makes it brings your focus to the plant, and it lessens your stress and anxiety. So that's good to know.
Okay. Sige. Siguro as we go along the webinar, if you have any questions, feel free to type sa baba ng ng Zoom panel nyo. You will see Q&A and you can type it there. If you have any questions, we will try to answer along the way. But just to close this portion of the program, being a plantita or a plantito nowadays may seem just like any other social media trend, but I strongly believe that indoor gardening may endure beyond this period or beyond this pandemic na hopefully it ends na nga tulad ng sabi ni Dr. Joanne because of the many ways house plants can improve our health and well-being. So I'm sure it's here to stay. Okay, thank you so much again, Dr. Joanne. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So before we move to the next topic, let's do another poll, shall we? So After that, di ba sabi ni Doc Joanne, we need to bring indoors. We need to bring nature indoors. So by bringing nature indoors, which rooms in the house do you place most of your plants? Living room, dining room, kitchen, bathroom, bedroom, guest room, balcony, or others? May others pa ba? May iba pa bang rooms na pwede nating paglagyan ng plants? The number one is balcony or patio. I think because a lot of people are also conscious dun sa bright light na kailangan ng mga plants. Kaya in between sila, whether indoor or outdoor. So balcony tayo, dun tayo sa in between. So next is living room, 36%. We have 3% sa bathroom. 5% muna. Bedroom, 5%. Tied, bathroom and guest room into 3%. And may 6% na others. What? Which room did I miss? The room of requirements. Ano ba tong room na to? Guys, yun. Sige, I'll stop sharing the results now. And we'll move to the next topic. So why did I ask that? So I asked kung anong room because I'm really excited for our next topic. But of course, before I share the next topic, our next speaker is someone close to my heart. She has been a longtime plant enthusiast as she grew up in a house surrounded by greens. Her love story with plants was rekindled and grew when the pandemic started in 2020. So having started her professional career in property management and customer service, she has spent most of her years in vertical developments and has a firm grasp and appreciation of condominium living. She is now a full-time plant parent, a dedicated wife, a fur parent of 2 cute dogs, and a successful entrepreneur. Did I fail to mention that she has discovered the recipe for the best cupcakes? Really have to try that. So let's all welcome our next speaker, Gia Mirabueno.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for that warm introduction, Miss Donna. Thank you also to Dr. Joanna for validating our plant addiction, no? So we have more reason to collect more and more plants. Anyway, like what Miss Donna mentioned and Dr. Joanna, I started my plant science journey at the height of the pandemic. So since yun nga, we can't do our normal outdoor activities, many of us prompted to just bring the outdoors to our homes, diba? We see this usually also in our furniture, the way we use wood furniture, mga stone finishes, even yung mga beddings with animal prints or floral prints. That's somehow our way of bringing nature into our homes. And using plants as a home decor is actually not a new thing. It's been a staple in many households. Like me, I grew up in my parents' house surrounded with both flowering and fruit-bearing plants. And then you see also in many establishments like hotels, offices, you go to any Megaworld lifestyle mall and the residential condominiums and you'll be greeted with sprawling landscape, diba? Sa driveway pa lang. And then when you enter sa mga lobbies, sa mga hallways, there's always a plant decor somewhere. So plants as a decor give so much advantages because one, they will never go out of style. And two, they offer a wide range of texture, color, and depth. No, a small plant can be it can be small enough to decorate your desk, and it can also be large enough to command a floor space, diba, on their own. But unlike any other decorative items in your home, plants are living things. So they require certain conditions in order for them to thrive indoors, which is not their natural habitat. So I'm not an interior designer, I'm not a plant expert, and there's still a lot to improve on in our home. But allow me to share with you some things that I learned throughout this plant parenthood journey on how to style our homes and how to make our homes a habitable place for both the plants and us, the dwellers. Okay, so tip number 1 is to consider the space where you want to have plants. So for plant collectors like myself, it's so tempting to buy more and more plants and just decide where to put them as they come, diba? So the tendency is for us to have more plants than our space could handle. And this can lead to suffocation, not just for the plants, but for the dwellers as well. So in order for us to create or achieve a perfect balance of a visually pleasing space where plants could also thrive in, what we need to do is to be more intentional when buying plants. So deciding what kind of plant to put where will actually depend on the living conditions of your space. So next slide. Just to put it in context, we live in a 100 square meter, 2-bedroom condominium where all the light source or windows is on one side of the unit, which is facing west. So looking at this is our living room condition when we moved in. Right off the bat, what you will notice is there's really sufficient light because there are big windows, almost floor to ceiling. There's high ceiling, and then there are a few bare walls, which is kind of typical in a condominium unit, diba? Next slide. So since you have adequate light source, these are some plants that thrive better in bright indirect light. My personal favorite is a Monstera deliciosa. I bought mine last year with only 4 leaves, and now it's parang 8 to 9 leaves na siya. We put it in a place where it gets enough bright light. Yon. So another condition in that room is the high ceiling. For high ceiling naman, it's the perfect next. It's the perfect space for tall and tree-like plants. So in this photo, we have a cluster of rubber trees on that corner. We bought the tallest one at 6 feet. So now, ano na siya, parang almost 8 feet na rin, 7 or 8 feet na siya, na nagbe-bend na because it's already hitting the ceiling. Next, other plants include fiddle leaf fig and yucca. Yan, yun ang mga parang tree-like plants that can be a good focal point to your home when you have high ceiling. And the next slide, the bare walls. So if you have bare walls naman, instead of putting mga artwork, it's nice to put trailing plants on hanging planters. Next, samples of these are golden pothos, heartleaf philodendron, and string of hearts. Kasi yung trailing features nila can serve as an artwork na in itself. And then next slide, if you have a space in your room naman that is quite far from the window or a light source, don't worry because there are actually plants who thrive in low light conditions. I mean, not thrive, but are more tolerant of low light conditions. Next, samples of these are the snake plant, ZZ plant, and the spider plant. So next slide. This is just a simple illustration on what bright, medium, and low light actually mean. So when you get bright indirect light, it means that the sun does not hit directly the leaves of the plant. It's about 1 to 2 feet away from your window source. Medium light is mga 4 to 5 feet away from the source of light, and most plants thrive up to medium light. Gusto nila yan. And then low light, of course, is the light you get when you are farthest away from the window or the light source. So knowing the light conditions of your area will help you identify and position your plants according to their needs. Next slide. Tip number 2, decide on a theme and stick to it. So now that you know what kind of plants to put in your space, decide naman on how to complement your existing furniture with your plants. So when we buy plants, they don't usually come in the pot style or color that we want. Diba? Usually sellers keep it in the nursery pot or a clay pot, ganyan, diba? So wala namang masama to keep them in that but just to level up your home decorating, it's good to upgrade your pot or accessorize them, and then it will bind together all the elements of the theme that you want for your home. So there are plenty of ways to achieve your desired vibe for your home, and sticking to a theme will help you make your space look more cohesive and well put together. So these are some of the themes na medyo popular sa Pinterest. Minimalist theme. So a minimalist theme would look something like this, na more polished, mga all white or all black yung mga gamit na pots. Next. These are also examples of other minimalist themes. Next. Yeah. Another theme next is the industrial theme. This one naman uses mga metals, mga concrete pots. Next, mga black pots and decors. Next. Yeah, that's how they sell. Yeah, mga metal stands. Next. And the most popular and my personal favorite is the bohemian or boho theme. This one naman, mga muted colors, neutral colors, use of mga rattan, macrame, wood elements that makes a boho theme. When I started my plant collection, I was really drawn to mga terracotta pots. So I made it a goal to transition all my pots to terracotta kasi it looks more cohesive. So just to show you, next. This is my current living room setup. So it's medyo mix of industrial and boho kasi the existing furnitures we have already has mga metal, black metal elements to it. So when we had our planters made, inano lang namin, minatch lang namin with the existing furniture. Next. And then this one naman, in one of our rooms, ito yung medyo boho na I put mga macrame decors, rattan, yan. Okay. And then tip number 3 is to group your plants together. Next, there are many ways to do it, but one of the more common is to group it by rule of 3. It's a basic design principle wherein for plants, you cluster them by odd numbers, usually by 3s or by 5s, to make it look more symmetrical, more balanced, and uncluttered. So this is one trick that I actually learned from my husband kasi nga ako bili lang ako ng plants na nagka-clutter na sila. So what my husband does is pag nakikita niya more than 3 na yung naka-cluster, he finds a way to relocate them. So this is also our way to keep our collection healthy and make our space habitable pa rin. Since when you live in a condominium, diba, you have limited space. And then next slide, another way of grouping them is by foliage. In this photo, we group all our calatheas together because we find their foliage or their leaves to be so beautiful, so colorful, so intricate that when they're grouped together, sobrang ganda nila tignan. It's like an artwork. It's like an art piece, diba? Super ganda. Or you can also group them by, for example, mga silver, lahat ng silver dragon or silver pothos, yan, mga by foliage or by color. Or if you have a group of begonias, yan, maganda if you group them together. A group of anthuriums, yan, by foliage. And then another way is by light or humidity requirements. Like in this photo, these are all my baby plants. So they require more bright light, more humidity in order for them to grow. So I put them in one place and in the room where they get the most optimal light source. marami nang gumraduate sa group na yan because they grew so fast that I had to repot them and put them in poles. Kaya, yon. In our unit, the guest room or the room where I am now has the most unobstructed light. So this is where most of my prize collections are located. Yan, kasi maganda yung tama ng ilaw sa room na to. Next slide. Tip number 4 is to utilize your walls and ceilings. So yon, sinalo mo na yung clustering and what's this, having your own design. You can't help but buy more plants. So you need more space, diba? One way to create space or to add space for your plants is by putting mga what's this, floating shelves or mga hangers. So, diba, instead of putting an artwork, nakadagdag pa ako ng 12 new plants because of those floating shelves. And next slide, please. Yan, yung mga floating shelves can add more space, can give you more space for plants. And also, next slide, yung mga hanging planters. So this one, there's a lot of varieties now depending on the theme that you want. Meron yan mga metal hanging planters, even leather. This one is macrame na hanging planter. Yeah. So it solves the emptiness of a blank wall, and it also solves your need for more space. Yeah. Okay, and then tip number, plant stands pala. Plant stands also, like in this corner, this is an optimal corner because it's close to the window. So I used to have just one plant there, but because of this plant stand, nakalagay ako ng 3 plants. Very good. Okay, last tip is to make use of what you already have. So you do not need to completely restyle your home and buy new stuff just to achieve the look that you want. Sometimes just adding plants on what you already have will make it look more interesting. Like for example, now, diba, I'm sure a lot of us have converted a space or room for homeschooling and work from home setup. And while there are many available background filters online, adding actually a pot or 2 behind you, sa akin medyo marami, diba? Will improve or give you a different vibe during your online meetings. You can also do this on your mga bookshelves or coffee tables. Yan, on this side table, you can curate a small tray where you have candles or mga vases or your small trinkets, and then just add a few plants in between. Next. For your dining table naman, instead of the usual centerpiece that we see in dining tables, what you can do is actually add a plant there, and it will instantly give you a feel na parang you're eating outdoors or dining out, diba? Since hindi naman tayo maka-dine out ngayon. And then repurpose your furniture. Like for this one, I used to use this shelf for my plant collection. Makeup collection. Makeup collection, yan. Now it's home to a lot of my plant babies. So, yan, repurpose your furniture lang. So yeah, those are my 5 tips. And then as a closing remark maybe, there's no really set rule when it comes to indoor plant styling because at the end of the day, it will boil down to personal preference, no? But the number one thing to put into consideration is to make sure that both the dwellers and the plants will thrive together in your living space. So it took me more than a year to somewhat achieve this setup. If you ask me if I want to add more, of course, I want to add more. Maybe hanging plants. That's my dream now, to add more hanging plants. But since we move things around very often, when you drill, parang it's a permanent thing, and I can't commit to that yet. So don't feel bad or don't limit yourself in moving things around and experimenting the placement of your plants. Get to know them, find time to know their needs every day, check on them, and more importantly, create an environment that makes you happy. So there, those are just my tips. So thank you for listening. I hope you learned a thing or two from that, and stay safe, everybody.
Thank you so much, Gia. So I
Thank
really,
you.
really, really admire your collection. Wink, wink. Dogs, right? Like as we mentioned in your introduction. So how do you manage to keep them away from your plants? Not just because most of them are rare, but most especially because a lot of them are toxic to, especially when ingested, toxic to pets.
Oh, to my pets. Oh, luckily talaga, they don't. Wala silang interest sa sa mga plants. Usually when a new plant comes in, yun parang nagpapakilala lang sila, inaamoy-amoy nila ganyan. But sobrang careful sila around them. So I'm lucky na ganun sila.
Also, you can also be conscious. You can also be conscious by putting risers. No? We also put risers because, of course, the toxic plants will affect our pets.
Oo.
Mm. Yan, si Sir Saki talaga. Also, which plants, because as of now, I think you have more than 100, right? More than 100 plants. So which plants do you treasure the most? Do you have like your favorite? Maybe your top 5, kasi I know it's hard to pick like top 1 or top 3. So top 5. Top 5 na lang.
Okay. Uy, wag kayong close your ears, children. Baka magselo sila. Close your ears, okay. Pero ultimate favorite ko talaga is the Monstera Deliciosa. Kasi parang feeling ko, it's the epitome of a tropical life. It's the epitome of jungle or the outdoors. So favorite ko talaga. And they're so easy to care for. And siya yung talagang pinaka reassuring for me na every time she gives me new leaves, parang I'm such a good plant parent. Parang ganon. Siya yung ganon. Never pa ako namatayan ng Monstera Deliciosa. Never siya nagkasakit or wala siyang binigay na headache sa akin. So I love her to this. And then recently, sobrang na-obsess ako sa mga anthuriums. Ayan, featuring yung Queen Anthurium na medyo china-challenge ako ngayon. But I like the challenge. So, ilalagay ko pa rin siya sa top 2 ko dahil matagal na siya sa plant wishlist ko. Number 3, ayan, kita rin pala dito. Sabi ko sa'yo, nandito sa room na to lahat ng treasured plants. Eh. So, si Paraiso Verde. Sobrang ganda niya na hindi ko ma-explain because maybe of the foliage and yun nga, isa din siya sa parang si Monstera Deliciosa who's been giving me one leaf after the other. So, I love it so much. Mm-hmm. Ayun, yun na lang, 3 na lang. Baka magalit na yung iba. Mahirap mag-choose.
There's actually a question for you here in our Q&A portion. So, in their plants, bright light from glass windows, how about where to get fresh air daw?
Oh, yes. We open the windows every morning para may fresh air sila. Yes. Mm-hmm. And then when I water them on a weekly basis, I put them outside sa balcony for mga 3 to 4 hours per batch. Hindi kaya lahat by batch. So they get also yung enough sun exposure and yung mga natural elements outside na meron silang ma-feel that they're still outdoors, even for just a few hours.
Hmm. Another question is, do you use humidifier?
Yes. We use humidifiers. That's one advantage also of grouping your plants together according to their needs. Kasi for high humidity plants, sama-sama sila, and then you can have one humidifier there. And then kasi it's also good to like mist your plants, pero other plant enthusiasts don't recommend that because it encourages daw fungus and pests, ganyan. But humidifier is really a must talaga for the plants to thrive.
Paraíso Verde that Gia mentioned earlier. And here are her anthuriums. Hi, baby. Kumain daw, Paraíso Verde, Miss Gia. Yun. Thank you so much again. So guys, as you can see, styling your home with plants is possible even if you live in a condo setup where space might be an issue to some. But as we all saw from the plant tour, she managed to style their home beautifully and collect over 100 plants, maybe even 200, I think. So condo setup, let's move to another type of living space. So I'm a big fan of the design aesthetics of our next speaker for today. I've been following her for, I think, more than a year, almost 2 years. So she left the corporate world in 2015 to become a social media director and content creator. In 2018, she took on the task of renovating and redesigning their home. And her work has been featured on Real Living magazine several times. That's actually where I saw her home, and then I started stalking her. I'm so sorry. And although she do home renovations as a profession, she will occasionally accept projects for friends and family. So apart from having a knack for content creation and home design, she is also a plant parent for 9 years. 9 years na, guys. She shares her plant parenthood journey on Instagram, and she has recently launched a YouTube channel called Plants versus Manila. So maybe later on she can share with us why Plants versus Manila. I know already, but I won't preempt. So let's all welcome Kai Palileo-Cruz.
Hi everyone. So I'm Kai, and I'll be sharing some tips on how to style your home with plants. So just like what Donna said, I've been a plant parent for since 2012, so 9 years na. But it doesn't mean I'm an expert. It only means mas marami na akong napatay na halaman. And pag marami ka nang napatay na halaman, mas marami kang learnings, right? So actually,
That's true.
first time kong ma-meet si Doc Joanna and si Gia, but I love that yung philosophies nila sa plant parenting is pretty much aligned with mine. And yung mga styling tips ni Gia is pretty much similar to mine as well. So let's start. So 7 tips when styling your space with plants. So tip number 1, identify your lighting situation first. And like I said, I love that Gia actually mentioned this as well. I think that reiterating it means na it's really, really important. So my first tip, identify your lighting situation. And for me, this is the first thing you should really do first before you begin to style. Get to know your home's indoor lighting situation, because some plants will not thrive or they won't survive depending on the lighting that you have per room. So you really need to know this first. Is it south facing? Is it west facing? And just an example, no, sa left, I showed a photo of a south facing window na room. This is our guest room. And it actually has direct sun exposure. As in, yung afternoon sun, it really penetrates the windows and it really hits the leaves of the tree, of the rubber plant. So I know that this space is perfect for a rubber plant. But I also know na if I move it to a north or east facing window, the rubber plant might actually die. So ganun siya. And then another example would be the picture on the right. I placed a peperomia obtusifolia because actually south facing window din yung area na to, but it's indirect. So it's bright, but it's not too harsh. So I know that the peperomia can actually handle that. So that's an example. So next slide, I prepared a little cheat sheet for you. So this cheat sheet, basically, it tells you know what kind of plants are perfect per area, per window. And all you have to do is open your Compass app in your phone, lapit ka sa window mo, and then it just wait for it to kind of read the location, and it will let you know if you have a north, west, east, or south facing window. And I know this sheet is too long, so screenshot nyo na lang because I can't really go through each one. But yeah, I also identified like sample plants for south and west facing, north and east facing, and I even added like tips for windowless rooms because actually you can still put plants in windowless rooms if you have grow lights or LED bulbs. So tip number 2, once you have identified your lighting situation per room, you can now make a list of plants per room and then pwede ka na mag-style. So yeah, that's the fun part. So tip number 2, create your own indoor jungle by placing plants in different heights. So when I think of styling a space with plants, I feel like gusto ko jungle vibes. And when you say indoor jungle vibes, think of it as when you are in a jungle, you're surrounded by plants. Left and right, up, down, di ba ganyan parang. So for me, that's the most organic way you can style your room with plants. Put plants in different heights. So merong mataas, merong eye level mo, meron din sa floor. So ganun siya. So that it will feel like you are really surrounded by nature and you've just created your own indoor jungle. Tip number 3, create a relaxing, clean, and uncluttered look by being cohesive. So the space will look more put together and it will look more relaxed in a stylish way if you create areas with plants that look cohesive in terms of, let's say, color palette or uniformed sila. And I know that most plant parents, they like collecting one of each plant. But there are certain areas of the house that maybe you want it to feel a little bit more, stress-free or a little bit more uncluttered. And if you have a corner like that, I would really suggest making it a little bit more parang understated and cohesive. So let's say if your color palette is or neutrals like white, gray, you can also buy your pots in the same color. So cohesive siya with your wall, your furniture, everything looks really put together. So, yon. Tip number 4, use a lot of trailing plants. So I love putting a lot of trailing plants kasi it looks dramatic. It looks very, very layered and textured. So the more you add trailing plants to your space, the more that it will look effortlessly chic. Yan. Tip number 5, use your walls if you are running out of space. So na-mention din ni Gia yan earlier. So if you also live in a condo with very limited space, one solution is to make use of your walls. Mounting plants on walls will not take extra square footage. And it can also be a great way to spruce up a blank wall. So tip number 6, bathroom is the place to be. So kanina may poll si Donna at wala masyadong naglalagay ng plants sa bathrooms. Pero ako, I love putting plants in bathrooms. Why? Bathrooms have high humidity. So the humidity-loving plants can thrive in the bathroom. And if your bathroom naman has a window, if it has a lighting source, then perfect. And even if medyo low light yung situation sa bathroom, you can add LED bulbs or grow lights. So that's why I mean don't forget your bathrooms. Ang sarap nung feeling na you're having your own me time, tapos meron ding jungle sa bathroom. And I don't know, it just really feels relaxing. And now that we're all like in our homes, it makes me feel like I'm in an adventure. Like, pupunta lang ako ng banyo, parang nag-travel na ako, parang ganyan. So, remember that, ha? Don't forget your bathrooms. Tip number 7. So, group plants with shapes and patterns that can look like art. So, living art installation. So, plants can be living forms of art. And again, minention niya ni Gia. So, I love that we're so aligned. I actually love combining different artworks with plants. And if you want to make use of plants as living art, choose plants with interesting foliage. Merong pang black, merong purple na colors, interesting shapes. So group them together and it feels like you already have an artwork. Okay, so there you have it. Very short, but I hope you learned a lot. And now let's move on to my house tour. So that's our sunroom, by the way.
Yeah, and I also noticed that same with Miss Gia, you have a lot of Monstera deliciosa. Is that also your
Yes.
favorite plant?
Yes, that's my favorite plant, and that's my husband's favorite plant also.
Pareho. So
Yeah.
a lot of people were saying, I think this is Earl. Sabi ni Earl, he wishes his place was this beautiful. And Cookie said she feels like she's on a vacation if nandun siya sa house nyo.
Yeah, actually, especially now during the pandemic, that's how I styled her space. And si Cookie kasi friend ko yan sa Instagram. I'm sure she knows. Iniiba-iba ko yung style per season kasi nga nasa bahay lang. So right now, I'm in a Moroccan type of style for summer. Yan. Tapos minsan iniiba ko pag June na or October na, iniiba ko siya. Para nga naman mukha kang nagta-travel kahit nasa bahay ka lang.
Totoo. Tsaka nagkakaroon ng highlight yung iba't ibang plants. Hindi lang yung isang plant yung ma-highlight. So namumove
Yes.
around din sila.
Correct.
I see. Okay, so quick question. So where do you get your design inspiration? Kasi I felt like I was in a different country. I felt like in different rooms. I felt like I was in a coffee shop. It's very different. So where do you get your design inspiration from?
So when we were renovating our home, our inspiration was Portland, Oregon, because my husband is from there and we love Portland, Oregon, and also France. So tinawag namin siyang Portland French, parang ganyan. So when you say Portland and French, kasi you have like shiplap, herringbone patterns, mga ganyan. May pagka-farmhouse, Provence, parang ganon. Kaya rin, I have a wall na may dried lavenders, parang to make it feel like we're in the south of France, parang ganyan. And then, also, when I added plants na, ganun din, parang inline siya with the theme of the house. Yun. So I really take inspiration from our own travels. That's where I get my inspiration from.
I see. So you also mentioned that sometimes you do projects for your friends and family. So do you also incorporate plants in your designs, in the designs that you create for them? Or when you style their house? Hindi pala design. So when you style their homes pala.
So yeah, actually that's funny kasi I have a condo project now and my friend is not a plantita and ayaw niya maglagay ako ng plants pero ako yung matigas ang ulo na parang maglalagay ako kahit ayaw mo.
Napapayag mo naman siya. Mukha namang napapayag mo na siya.
Napapayag ko na siya.
So from there, let's again, thank you so much. We'll take a quick break before we proceed to the next part of our program. We will just share a video of Megaworld Prime RFO. Again, this event will not be possible without our host, Megaworld Prime RFO. Megaworld Prime RFO is the premier sales and marketing group of Megaworld Corporation that exclusively offers easy-to-own and ready units for the city go-getters, forward thinkers, who are ready to be independent, ready to start and grow a family, and of course, ready for the future. We are currently on our 9th year, and we aim to continuously redefine lifestyles by having everything within your reach. At the end of the day, it's more than just the location, and convenience. It's more than just having access to modern amenities and comfort. It's really all about enjoying the life that you've worked hard for, living your best life and having everything ready for you. If you have any questions and would like to know more details about ready for occupancy properties, our property specialist will be more than glad to assist you right after the event. So we're nearing the end portion of our webinar, but this doesn't mean that the fun stops here, because now we're going to do our final poll, and we're also entering the final part of our program. So I will first share a poll question, our last one. So please participate. So what are your biggest concerns when taking care of plants? I noticed during the first two topics that we had, there were already questions like, kailangan ba ng humidifier? Paano yung natural air, airflow? Paano dadaan? Kailangan ba ng grow lights? So what are your biggest concerns? Are you concerned that you're not a green thumb? Are you concerned about pests? Or you don't have time? I saw kanina may question kay Doc Joanne na since she is a doctor and a frontliner, paano kaya siya magkaka-time sa plant? So is this also your concern? Do you have concerns of space, limitation ng space, concern ba with pets, toddlers, others? So we are asking all these questions because we will try as much as possible to really discuss or address these topics na pwede nyong ma-share with us during our panel discussion. Okay. So leading concern. Biggest concern is not enough space. Ang mga plantita po laging may sagot dyan. Space is never an issue. Nakangiti na ang ating mga panelists. And then next is not a green thumb. We'll talk about that also later on. I believe walang taong hindi green thumb. I think you just need to learn how to take care of plants, and you need to be more confident in taking care of plants, which you will learn along the way. Tulad nga nung sabi ni Kai kanina, it doesn't necessarily mean na you're more expert kapag matagal ka ng plantita. It just means you killed more plants, you learned more things. So yon. Okay. So I'll stop sharing now and move on to our next topic. There. So let me introduce to you the members of our panel. So we will have 4 members of the panel. The first member is a pandemic plantito, but plants fed him and sent him to school growing up, as his dad is a landscaper. He is a marketing communications manager for a bank and a voice-over talent on the side. Eto, guys, not enough space is not an issue. He lives in a 22 square meter condo with 100 plus plants and 2 cats. So he loves to experiment on his plants, which sometimes come at a cost. And his goal, di ba may mga sumasagot na sa ating habang nag-i-introduce pa lang ako, kilala na nila kung sino ang next natin na panelist. So he loves to experiment on his plants, which comes at a cost. And his goal with plants is to share whatever he learns about taking care of plants in the city to fellow plant parents. He is better known in the plant community as Plantito Earl, Mr. Earl Moreno.
Hello. Good afternoon, everyone.
Yon. Hi, Earl.
Kinakabahan ako. Ba't ako kinakabahan?
Sample naman ng VO, Earl.
Sample daw ng VO.
Sabihin ko.
Paano ba tayo magsasample? Ano bang mga na-VO mo ng pwedeng alam ng lahat? Hindi ako yung nag-request. May nag-request.
Ano ba? Wait. Di ako sanay mag-BO na wala akong script. Mamaya, pag may ano, sige, sakto lang natin yung
Ambush. Okay. So I'll introduce our second panel. So she has always loved nature. And when she moved into her own condo in 2019, she decided to bring nature indoors and has since become a proud plant parent. So aside from being a full-time plant mom to over 60 of her plant babies, she has a small online business as well and is a full-time trainer in a multinational FMCG company. She loves dancing. Sample.
PG.
Paul loves her family and is a committed follower of Jesus. Cooky Araneta, or better known as Plantuki.
Hey, Cookie.
Hello.
Hi. Okay, so now we have two. We're down to two more. We will also be joined as well by our other speakers, Kai and Gia, who I already introduced earlier. Just an introduction, baka ma-OP ako kasi ang dami yung background. So, since I was young, I've been surrounded by OG and hardcore crazy plant ladies, ang aking mga lola po. So, both of my lolas from my mom and dad's side own big gardens. So, growing up, I would learn the common names of plants. Pero yung mga common names ng mga lola noon, yung mga buhok ni Maria, yung mga, di ba? Ganun yung mga diba? So, meron pang bulkan, rosaryo, yung mga ganun na plants, hindi yung mga ngayon, scientific names tayo, mga tipong variegata, di ba? Yun. So, they taught me how to take care of those plants, that each plant actually requires a unique kind of care. When I was young, in my mind kasi parang plant, soil, water, tapos na. Diba? Pero now, we had to learn na each plant pala requires a different kind of soil mix, a different kind of watering schedule. Diba? Hindi yung parang everyday, yung mga ano naman yun, everyday parang pwedeng i-water, hindi naman namamatay, pero hindi pala ganun, diba? So, meron pa akong mga plants na hindi pwedeng i-touch. Parang, bawal yan. Si Lola lang ang pwedeng humawak niyan. Hindi ko alam kung bakit. May sumpa. But, so enough about that before I start geeking out. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is our panel for today. Doc Joanne, can we also invite you kaya for the panel? Do you mind?
Join us.
Sure. Okay lang.
Yun. Sige. I'll add. Yan. Okay. So we have the more the merrier. Ang ating motto ng mga plantitos and the more the merrier. Okay. So I will ask a question first. So maybe everyone can answer. I'll start with Earl and then Cookie, Gia, Kai, and Doc Joanne. So when did you first discover your love for plants?
Sa akin, umusbong siya ulit. It regrew during the pandemic, actually. Kasi, well, during the pandemic, everyone was forced to stay at home. And ako kasi, I'm a very restless person. Pre-pandemic, on weekends, I'm barely at home. Sometimes, I go home late na during weekdays after work. So parang naghanap ako ng way to distract myself from the fact na I can't be restless anymore. Hindi na ako pwedeng magdinilabas. Hindi ako pwedeng pumunta dito. I can't do the usual things that I could. And yun, during the first part of the pandemic, parang pumunta ako ng Quezon Memorial Circle kasi malapit lang siya sa bahay ko. Bought a few plants. And then, next thing I knew, every weekend na nasa Quezon Memorial Circle. Or every other day. There was a time na every other day pumupunta ako doon. Ang dami kong inuuwi na napuno na yung bahay ko. So parang doon siya nag-start na it was the perfect distraction that I was looking for during the pandemic. Kasi you can't distract yourself with anything else unless you want to risk yourself, contracting this thing that we don't want to contract. So doon siya nag-start. Although growing up, like what you said sa intro mo, I was surrounded with plants kasi dad ko landscaper. As in parang, to me, plants were just there. Whenever I need plants, they're there. Kasi sa bahay namin, as in punong-puno ng plants. We had a garden. And then during summer, may forced child labor ako noon. Pag summer, nagtatrabaho ako for my dad. ako yung nagpa-pot ng mga plants, nagre-repot ng mga plants in small plastic bags, ganyan, para i-deliver sa next client na and all that. Tapos, syempre, as I grew up, medyo mas nalayo-layo na from plants, lalo na when I started working. Syempre, you're busy all the time. You're busy traveling, meeting with friends, doing your actual work. And then yun nga, when the pandemic struck, yun, I had to find a way to distract myself kasi feeling ko may ADHD ako. Hindi mo mapakali. If you've noticed me kanina pa sa panels, galaw ako ng galaw. On, off, on, off, on.
Ba, perfect ang plants.
So they were the perfect distraction kasi yun nga, I also like experimenting on them. So naisip ko, I'll try this potting medium or sige, I'll try leca. I'll try another type of approach. So it was the perfect distraction to keep me. It's more of benefit na sa akin really was for my well-being. More than anything else, it really helped me get through this. Kasi I live alone. I have no one else with me here and living with me. So I had to find ways to keep myself sane in everything that's happening right now.
Fresh na fresh ang air mo dyan sa 22 square meters mong condo filled with plants. Now, I also saw nga on one of your story, actually a lot of your stories, when you went home to Davao, o diba? Stalker vibes. Big plants in your garden. Ay ko, nakakaingit. Ang ganda. So, ayun. Okay. So, now let's move to Cooky. So, when did you first discover your love for plants?
I think like for all of us, kasi back then, diba, uso talaga growing up in houses talaga. Hindi pa naman condo talaga yung time nun eh. So, same thing, I grew up, watching my mom also take care of her own garden, my lola. So, yun, I've always lived in a house then. So, exposure-wise. Also, our family really loves Baguio. So, every summer, without fail, we would always go to Baguio or spend Christmas there. So, yun, that's where I fell in love with trees and just nature. I super love just going for walks in John Hay, mga ganon. And then and back in I think it was 2018, yun, I discovered naman that I love to hike. And yun, parang when you go hiking, iba na talaga yung parang yung perspective of seeing like God's creation talaga in nature. So beautiful. And then yun, in 2019, when I moved into my own condo, it was the first time ever that I literally had my own space. Like it was all mine. And it was like a blank slate. So of course, I wanted to try my hand in decorating my own space and making it really feel like home. So that's when I brought in like, I think it was 2 plants pa lang just to start. So sabi ko, wow, it really brightens up the home. Okay, dagdag pa tayo. So I started going online na, looking at Instagram, asking my plantita friends during that time, and they kept sending me, ito, try nyo to, ganyan. And then before I knew it, I discovered naman, I eventually discovered the plant community. And once you get into the community, wala na, as in, you'll just want to go wild already with the plants because you just see so many, you get so inspired and everything. And then when I also discovered QC Circle, similar to Earl, and yun, when I saw all of the plants that were there, ayan, I frequent every weekend. I would be in the QC Circle, tapos masusurprise na lang yung family ko when I would visit them na, oh, may bago ka na namang plant, ganyan. So, until, like, I didn't realize na lang na ang dami ko namang plants, tapos I was already starting propagating. So, dumadami na siya, nag-multiply na siya, and yun. So, it really, and of course, they've been because since I live on my own here in my condo, they've really been my go-to community within my own home, especially during the pandemic. So they really served as such a big help, especially during the ECQ. Really, of course, for mental well-being and everything. So yeah, so I really love all my babies. So yun.
Yun nga, diba? Parang you start with 1, 2, tapos tuloy-tuloy na talaga siya. Hindi mo na siya mapipigilan. Parang kulang dito sa side na to. Dagdagan.
Yes.
Dagdagan pa natin. Plants pa more.
Ganun siya. Okay, so next, Gia.
I guess it's common, no? Pareho rin ako with Earl and Cooky. I grew up seeing my mom collect plants. Pero we live in a house before, so outdoor plants mostly and some indoor plants. And then ang road trip namin ng mom ko, sabi niya, pasyal tayo. Yun pala, nakakarating na kami ng Laguna kasi naghahanap siya ng mga rare na orchids or mga before kasi gusto niya mga flowering plants eh. So mga orchids, mga gumamela, daisies, yun yung mga gusto niya talaga before. And then for myself, when I moved in sa condo, we only had a couple of plants before, yung areca palm and one fortune plant. So feeling ko okay naman na yun, ganyan. Highlight na siya ng condo at that time. Tapos tumagal, we can't find the perfect artwork dun sa para i-fill yung mga blank walls. Walang nag-speak to our hearts na artwork or painting or something. And then the pandemic happened na parang yun, kagaya nyo din, parang gano'n, pandemic yung nag-start na nasa bahay ka lang, mas lalo mong nakikita, ay, sobrang blank ng wall na to, sobrang empty feeling ng space na to, maganda maglagay na ganito. And then, yun, it also led to this vast collection na, kasi nga, the validation you get also from the plants, nakaka-happy na everyday may kausap ka. Hindi ako mag-isa sa condo but I really talk to my plants and it's therapeutic for me to encourage them na, oh girl, grow ka lang dyan, ganyan. So very therapeutic siya for me. So, yun.
Totoo yan. Parang ako, iniisa-isa ko sila pag umaga, ba't ang bagal-bagal mo? Wait
Papagalitan mo sila. Ano na? Lalaki
Ay,
ka pa.
walang pagalit. Ito, medyo nilalambing ko yan. Kasi,
Si Queen.
kumukulubot siya. Kumukulubot na siya. Girl.
Ayun. So, next, Miss Kai.
Okay, so it's really funny kasi ganun din ako. Started as a kid. Lahat yata no? I have fond memories being in nature. I remember it actually full circle siya kasi the house that I live in now used to be my childhood home. So parang pinamana siya, lumipat na yung family sa ibang house. So it's like being in full circle na I was growing up in this house with plants and then now as an adult I live here also and then creating this space with plants. Pero ang dami ko talagang childhood memories na parang yung mga tipong hindi ko alam kung alam niyo to, yung mga tipong may mga aratilis trees na parang kukuha ka ng aratilis, mga ganyan, mga
Yes.
yeah, tsaka, talaga lang. I think it started from there and then we love to travel kasi and when we travel we're always gravitating towards nature. And I remember this moment na we were in a city traveling tapos parang bigla na lang akong napasigaw na may apple tree, ay parang gano'n, tapos parang may mga bystanders na ano ba tong loka-loka na to, bakit siya na-excite sa apple tree. Yeah, as in I really gravitate towards nature. And then 2012 we moved from condo to house nga dito sa house na to. So we started including plants in our home. Ano rin, parang I had some sort of health issue. So parang I wanted to be parang complete lifestyle change na parang more natural, even yung mga household products, more natural, organic, mga ganyan. And parang naging, lang siya, it's very natural lang na when you have that different lifestyle, talagang umaano yung love mo sa plants. And then during the pandemic, like I said, matagal naman na akong plant parent, pero I think yung during the pandemic, naging ako sa plant community because there's a lot of negativity, diba? Like I'm sure na experience yun naman to. More than magto 2 years na tayong naka-lockdown. It's may negative vibes. So talagang nag-gravitate din ako towards dun sa plant Instagram ko to the point na hindi ko na ginagamit yung private account ko na Instagram. Hindi na ako nag-Facebook. Basta doon lang ako sa Instagram ko. I love talking to people there. So, yan, parang naging positive, siya, during this lockdown.
Okay. Yun, sorry, I was trying to check a lot of questions. May mga pumapasok kasi tayong questions. We'll try to answer those questions later on. So it's true talaga, no? Parang pare-pareho talaga tayo na a lot of us started when we were young. Talagang yung influence ng parents, ng childhood natin, like my mom also had a lot of indoor plants before. Pero yung mga makalumang vibes like mga San Francisco, 'di ba? Ngayon crotons na yung natin mga San Francisco, 'di ba? Mga Dieffenbachias, Aglonimas, yun yung mga noon, 'di ba? Mga fortune plants. Hoya, na noon. Uso na rin nun yung mga hoyas, 'di ba? Tapos money tree, snake plant. So totoo yung sinasabi ni Kai, ako din, parang growing up, I naturally gravitated towards wanting my own garden. So, yun talaga yung isa sa mga requirements ko. When my husband and I bought our first home, sabi ko kailangan, maliban sa malaking kitchen, gusto ko ng garden. Wala na akong hihingin. Tapos, sabi niya, sure ka, walk-in closet. Tatlo pala. Ayun. So next, Doc Joanne, when did you first discover your love for plants? I parang kanina you mentioned this before, dun sa when you studying during your med student days.
Yeah, just like you guys, I grew up in a household filled with plants, both indoors and outdoors. But syempre for college and med school, I had to move out and live in a condo. So when I was a student, yung roommate ko nag-travel and then she came home bringing this cactus na binigay niya. And then 1 week later, it died. And hindi ko matanggap na nakapatay ako ng plant and it would end there. I'm very competitive, so sabi ko, bibili ako ng bagong plant and yon mapapagrow ko siya. And it started there. So from one plant, tapos I visited na yung Cartimar and QC Circle as well. I guess at one point tayong lahat dito nagpunta sa Quezon City Circle. We just don't know each other yet. Pero yun, lagi I frequent those areas buying plants. Tapos naging reward ko siya kasi stressful yung med school. So after exam week, tapos if okay lahat ng grades ko, my reward would be new plants. So dun siya nag-start dumami, ganon. Tapos even now na nagpa-practice na ako, when may nagtanong kanina, how do I find time for them, ganon. Pag uwi ko, that's what I do to distress before I take a bath or sleep. Dinidiligan ko sila, binivisit ko sila, I check on them. So dun siya nag-start and nag-continue.
Diba? So talagang there's really one thing in common aside from loving plants. Parang our backgrounds on why we are more parang more inclined to love taking care of plants and being around nature. Parang talagang influence natin was since we were children, so since we were young talaga. So
Yes.
Yeah.
let me ask you a few questions coming from our audience. So siguro we can take it from there. So we'll answer the questions kasi since iba-iba din naman tayo ng take, we can all take turns in answering one question. So for example, one question, lahat na lang ng panel sasagot. So we'll do the same sequence na lang. Earl, Cooky, Gia, Kai, and then Doc Joanne. So, yun. So, itong isang question natin is from Tini Castillo. So, what advice can you give to those who are intimidated to start a plant collection because of the idea that this is an expensive hobby? Yun. So, Earl?
How I started collecting, I guess, with plants, it was in the earlier times of the pandemic na hindi pa as severe yung pricing. So medyo affordable pa siya. Kasi I guess yun yung, you could say, one of the other downfalls that this pandemic brought is that because of the high demand of plants, sobrang tumaas yung prices. As in, tipong naiingit ako lang. I think it was Gia who told me na yung Thicons niya was just 3,000 before, pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
And syempre, prior to that, 3,000, sobrang laki nun for a plant.
Mahal na yun. Correct.
You wouldn't be paying that amount for a plant. And ngayon yung Thicons ko, which I'll show later kasi I think there's also another question dyan, is nasa 5 digits. So, and siya yung pinaka-expensive ko. And yung, I guess you could start small. Don't wag kang ma-pressure to grow your collection or wag kang ma-pressure to go agad for the plants na alam mong mahal. Start with smaller ones. Ako, personally, start ako with snake plants and pothos kasi they're easy to take care of and sobrang mura nila. Well, before last year, pothos like 3 for 100, sobrang laki na nun. Sobrang lush pots na yun. Snake plants 3 for 100 then per, what do you call this, per stem. Ngayon, medyo mas mahal na sila but still very tolerable yung pricing. Like pag umabot yan ng 4 digits, say no kasi masyado nang mahal yan for pothos and snake plants. Start small. Wag mo i-pressure sarili mo na to go after the more expensive ones right away. Para as in, go higher siguro at your own pace. Wag kang magpapa-pressure to everyone else. Kasi yung iba naman, they had huge head starts. I mean, I had the experience before na parang dumating ako sa point na meron ako like mga 300 plants in this 22 square meter unit. Kasi parang na pressure ako, bakit meron silang ganito? Oh my God, dapat meron din ako yan. Diba? And then you realize later, okay, wait, ang dami na masyado. Dumating ako sa point na every time dadaan ako, going from my living room to my kitchen, mag-excuse me ako sa plants. And that's when I realized, okay, slow down tayo. Mag-ano ka ulit, mag-audit ka ulit kung ano yung plants na that you really want. Yung what we call may lukso ng dugo when you see it. I think that's a very important.
What sparks joy? Sabi
What
ni
sparks
Marie
joy to you? Dun ka lang. Whether it's expensive, whether it's a collector's item plant, or whether it's a common plant that you'll see anywhere, shouldn't matter. Just go for the ones na may sa'yo, may impact siya sa'yo.
Those that speak to you. Parang tinatawag yung pangalan mo, no?
Yung tipo pag nakita mo siya from afar, hello, maganan siya. Yan, isang factor yun eh. I mean, it's very arbitrary when you think about it. Pero once you're there, pag nakita mo yung plant, meron yan eh. May mararamdaman ka eh, kahit na maliit lang, na parang the other way around din. Pag nakita mo yung pangit naman ito, parang may ganun din. So it's the same thing. So consider those. Don't get pressured. Go at your own pace. Yeah.
Ayun. So, next, Cooky.
So I will echo what Earl said because the economics of plants right now is very different also. So we really have to we have to acknowledge that right now because we are in the pandemic situation. Again, prices have really soared. So this is not this shouldn't be the prices that plants go for right now. So hopefully it is temporary. So we are hoping naman that prices will eventually go down. And I've seen it, like some plants before, like for example, yung mini monstera, yung Rhaphidophora tetrasperma, before it was going for like 4,000, 5,000. But then now you can get it already for less than 1,000 for a few leaves cuttings, diba? So one is practice patience. So once you see a plant that you like, you don't have to go for it right away. I also believe that there is a right time for you to get that plant. So just keep it on your wish list if you really want to, but be patient. There are plants also that I've gotten in my head, parang shucks, so I wish I waited na lang. I could have gotten this for a cheaper price if only I had waited. So one, practice patience. Two, start with easy care plants. I really prescribe going for plants that will help you build your confidence as a plant parent. Because if you go agad for like rare na expensive tapos medyo a bit more tricky to take care of and then you kill it, parang one, it will damage your pocket, number one, mas masakit siya. And then two, yun pa yung confidence mo, you might feel na parang oh no, I can't take care of plants, I shouldn't do it anymore, ganyan. So we don't want to discourage you from taking care of plants. So start with the easy ones first. And then build your way, diba? Parang once you get to know them, yun na, you'll get a hand already of how they are, of how you are also as a plant parent, and then you can work your way there. Also, tip is get involved in the plant community. You'll learn so much. Just ask each other, like, oh, what should I start with? What are the good ones to begin with? Okay, I'm at this level now. What should I try next, etc. And then also, like, if you're concerned about the price, one thing that I've really found to be very helpful are plant swaps. I've gotten a lot of my plant wish list plants via plant swaps, and I didn't even have to spend anything. Parang it was like trading what you want for what they want. So it works both ways, diba? It's win-win. So plant swaps, and you'll get to know that once you join the plant community.
So yun, yes, it is an investment to take care of plants, especially if you want to be a responsible plant parent. But don't feel like it's so expensive naman that will discourage you already from trying it out. So just go through it. It's not a race, hindi rin siya competition on who has the most plants or who has the most beautiful plants, diba? We're all here together to help each other. So yeah, that's it for me.
Okay, next, Gia.
Yes. Yun din sana yung number one kong sasabihin is to follow these people, mga plant experts or people who are in the plant community. It's a really good community to be part of kasi it's all good vibes. I've gained a lot of good friends from the plant community. Yan, si Plantito Earl, one of them. And I reconnected also with some of my old friends. Yan, si Twin Maki, yan. Because of our common love for plants. So one of the things then that made me confident in buying or in growing my collection was because of them, yung mga people I follow in the plant community. There's also ang dami ng YouTubers ngayon who give tips on plants for beginners, how to care for specific plant types like philodendrons, anthuriums, yung mga ganon. There's a lot of resources available now na you just have to do your research and be intentional. Like what I said earlier, be intentional when you buy your plants na you really take the time to get to know them. Kasi, actually, don't be scared na may mamamatay kasi part yon of the learning process. Ako, ang dami kong namatay na plants. Ang dami kong plants na binili out of gusto ko lang pero di pala bagay sa space ko or di ko pala kaya alagaan. Alam mo yun? So, as you go along with your plant parenthood journey, you'll understand them better. So you'll know what kind of plants work best for your home or for the time, time na kaya mong spend with them. Important yun eh. Intention kasi living things sila. So when you spend time with them, get to know them, they will love you back. And so regardless kung murang plant yan or mahal na plant or rare ba siya or hindi, yung interaction nyo as living things, living people, living things, yun yung magbe-build ng confidence mo on how you will start or grow your plant collection. Yun.
That's so true. So, bago ko mag-side ko, let's move to Kai.
Yeah, so for me, I think parang hindi ka ma-pressure or parang hindi ka ma-intimidate. Don't go for the plants that are on trend. And don't go for plants that yung wala lang, nagagandahan ka lang sa kanya, tapos iuwi mo siya. I'll go back to what I said sa presentation ko na understand first your space, yung environment mo, yung lighting situation mo. Pag alam mo na yon, you can bring one plant, o sa gawin na natin two, bring home 2 plants and build your confidence from there. And kung itatanong nyo ako ano yung 2 plants na marirecommend ko, I'd go for pothos. Talagang hindi ka ma-broken pothos.
Golden pothos if you want to be even more specific.
Golden.
Pothos, and then maybe a second one would be a monstera. Kasi for me, madali lang talaga alagaan yung monstera. Pero ano siya yung may impact na siya agad.
True.
Yeah, so start with 2 lang muna, build your confidence, put it in the right spot. And yun, kasi pag nag-start ka with a plant na meron kasi mga nagme-message sa akin na they get a plant, they don't even know the name of the plant, binili lang nila kasi maganda, and then namamatay na siya. So, yun, baliktad. So, do your research first, and then get that plant, and then makikita mo you'll feel rewarding siya, fulfilling siya, nag-start ka sa 2 plants na yun, and then dun ka palang kukuha ulit ng 3rd, ng 4th, yan.
Yes. Okay, so Doc Joanne.
Yeah, actually, halos ang dami ng nasabing points, which nag-agree ako lahat doon. You start with something na small or something na cheap lang. Kasi yun nga if you're don't be intimidated. So start ka ng like a golden pothos or a snake plant, something that maraming plants na nagtatribe sa neglect. For example, ako, I started with cactus. So kahit pabayaan mo lang siya dyan, it would grow, it would thrive. So start with those, and then pag na-build mo na yung confidence mo, you can go on and buy the plants you want. And then don't forget to research the plants. Yun nga, know your light conditions and space conditions. And also, I want to share lang na nung pandemic, I stayed with my parents in the province, and I would wake up with my mom showing me na nakahingi siya from our neighbors ng plants, ng cuttings, and sobrang daming new plants na dumating sa akin, which I got for free. So yon, it doesn't have to be expensive if you want to start the hobby. So from something small, you can build your way up naman. Yun.
Agree. Super agree ako sa lahat. Actually, when people ask me nga, like when people send me messages, asking me questions, parang, paano ba ako mag-start? Parang ang una ko laging sinasabi sa kanila is, you need to know yung lighting conditions, parang ano ba yung environment sa loob ng bahay mo, because it's not the same as, parang, kasi tatanong nila ako, gusto ko rin yung kapareho nung sa'yo. Before you do that, or before you even parang buy plants or get plants na kapareho ng sa mga ibang tao or sa bahay ng ibang tao, you also have to check yung conditions ng bahay mo, because each house different siya yung conditions niya, iba yung lighting, iba yung humidity, iba yung airflow, 'di ba? So you have to get to know first your whole environment, and then that's when you decide which plants talaga that you want to add into your collection, or plants na gusto mong umpisahan. So yun nga, tulad ng sabi ng ating mga panelists, don't be intimidated, start small, huwag ka rin munang bumili ng super laki na, kasi minsan madalas may reward din seeing them grow from small juvenile, tapos makita mo silang lumaki. So yun. So don't get intimidated. Yun. So thank you so much for that question, Tini. So next question naman natin. Actually, this question is for Kai, specifically because she mentioned kanina na baka pag namatay yung plants, ganyan. But our panelists can also answer this. So sabi niya is, when plants you care for die, what do you feel? And how do you bounce back and not give up? Are you more into emotional or scientific approach?
Okay. So, nung bago pa lang ako na plant parent, pag namamatay yung halaman, syempre nasasad ako, nakaka-frustrate, and I think that's natural because you took care of the plant and bakit siya namatay? Parang ganon. And yung iba pa nga, di ba, they name their plants. Tapos meron akong napanood na sabi, wag nyo i-name yung plant, yung ma-attach kayo pag namatayan. So, at first, no, I had those feelings. Pero now, I look at it in terms of nature, na nature is ever-changing, seasons change, parang ganyan, na may mga things that's beyond your control. So I think as a plant parent, one of the major learnings is test of patience, and yung parang the art of letting go, mga ganyan, may hugot. Pero right now, mas chill na ako when it comes to that. And I think plants din kasi feel your energy. So parang if you're always scared na you might kill it, you're putting out that energy, and yun, baka lalo siyang ma-deads. So parang just put out that positive energy. Give it your best, but when it dies, you just really have to accept it and move on. Wala talaga tayong magagawa. That's part of nature, and I think that's part of plant parenthood.
Okay. If I may add, sa kanya,
Sige, go.
Siguro on the more scientific, kasi siguro to answer the follow-up question, mas on the scientific part ako. it's also, if a plant dies, it's also a learning experience for you. Doon mo ma-assess, anong maling ginawa ko? Na-overwater ko ba siya? Na-underwater ko siya? Am I giving it enough humidity? Baka mali yung lighting ko? Baka sobra yung lighting for that plant dun sa kinalalagyan niya, or kulang naman, baka kailangan niya ng more light. So, yes, it will feel sad, definitely. Pero just take it as it is. It's part of nature. They will never always be perfect. Plants will die. Their leaves will fall off, but new ones will grow. That's part of their cycle. That's how they are. Just take it as a learning experience for both you and for the plant, Merin, so that you can move on from it and learn how to better the kind of care that you give for your plants.
Ako,
Yes.
meron ako dyan na naging principal. Kasi, syempre, at first, yun nga, maiiyak ka na bakit siya namatay. But then, I learned as I went along na sometimes it's not you, it's them. Minsan, ganon eh. Yung parang, nabili mo siya na may pest na pala siya, or hindi mo na-check properly yung conditions of the plant when you bought it. Na pagdala mo dyan, may sakit na siya. Hindi ikaw yung may problema, diba? Minsan ganon. That's why it's important to buy from reliable and plant parents talaga who sell out of their passion also for plants, and not just because it's uso and it's profitable now. And then second, it's hard to admit then sometimes as a plant parent when a plant dies. Ako, yung buong Calathea collection ko namatay. It's one of my most expensive collections kasi namatay sila. Yun din ang downside of clustering them together. Pag nagkasakit yung isa, damay-damay na.
Yeah.
And at first, I tried to save them na, winash ko yung para mga spider mites kasi yung nag-infest sa kanila. I don't know which one of them started it, but nagising na lang ako one day na ang dami na, hindi ko na makontrol. And I tried to save them, ganyan, winash ko yung leaves, spray ng neem oil, yung mga usual na remedies for pests. But eventually, talagang namatay talaga sila. Namatay sila. And at first, sobrang devastated ako kasi favorite ko sila. They were thriving so well. As in, ang ganda ng blooms nila. Okay na. One day, bigla na lang talagang nagkaroon ng infestation na gano'n. And I like what my husband told me nung parang he was trying to console me that time na they gave you happiness at one point. Parang love, diba? Yeah, de joke lang. Parang nabigyan ka na ng happiness. So, i-cherish mo na lang yung moment na yon and move on. Move on na lang, gano'n. Parang orchids, diba yung orchids, they're so beautiful, i-display mo, ganyan. But eventually, after a few weeks, mamamatay din talaga sila. So sabi niya, i-treat ko na lang daw as gano'n, yung mga Calathea ko na namatay. So yun, ako more of emotional, but I also learned to try to be scientific like what Sir Earl said, na analyze mo, namatay siya kasi nasunog yung dahon niya, ilipat ko siya ng ibang place. Or namatay siya kasi nasobrahan ko ng dilig nag-soften yung leaves or nag-root rot. Mga ganon. So, you try to be scientific, which nalalaman mo rin yon as you go along. Hindi naman siya pagbili mo ng plant, alam mo na kagad kung ano.
True.
Although, information is available online, iba pa rin pag dinala mo na siya sa'yo, iba-iba pa rin yung mga conditions ng mga plants na yon. So, there.
Okay. Next, Cooky.
Just to add, I won't repeat. I agree with everything that they've said. But siguro at some points that I can maybe add. One siguro is if you can, try to catch them even before they die. So plants will tell you naman if they are sick, or if they're not in a very good condition. Like you would see plants, well, again, yes, it's normal for leaves to brown or for them to turn yellow, especially if they're the lower leaves, meaning those are the older leaves. So those will really give way so that new leaves can grow. So that's pretty normal. But if you see na parang there's something wrong, like there are like spots or things na parang out of the blue na parang feeling mo this isn't very natural, try to catch it and then try to diagnose what it is. yun. And if you need like help, a lot of people in the plant community, they just post their plants. What's happening? And then people will comment. And then you can get some ideas there on what could be wrong with your plant. A lot of the time, then it's really because of the roots. So the roots really are very telling. If you have healthy roots, your plant will surely be good. So usually if the problem is with the roots and you really need to like uproot your plant to check if the roots are still healthy, then you can do that, diba? To try to salvage it pa, diba? So yun, try to catch. Parang ano lang, like if you're sick, diba? If a person's sick, you try to ano din. You try to catch them before it worsens, diba? Ngayon naman, if your plant really does die, there are ways and there are times that you can still try to resurrect them or try to create a new plant from a dying plant, especially if like the main stem is still healthy, if there are still active like nodes, those little bumps on the stem, you can like stick that in like water or leca or some medium and then let them root and then you have a new plant. So parang you created new life from a dying one, diba? So there are ways. So don't give up. Just because your plant looks like it's going to, go to the grave already, try to see what you can do pa to hopefully try to give it new life or yun, to try to resurrect it pa. So yeah, don't give up hope. Kaya pa yan. Yes.
Ayun. So what about you, Doc Joanne?
Yes, I guess to add doon dun sa don't give up, you would expect me siguro na more scientific, but both pa rin ako, very heartbreaking pa rin when a plant dies for me, especially if siya yung nasa top favorite plant mo. And in my case, during the pandemic, as I've said earlier, I went home in the province. I lived with my parents. So some of my plants were left here, unfortunately. So when I came back, of course, maraming namatay, especially yung mga foliage, yung mga arids and aroids. I have a lot of cactus. Sila lang yung nag-survive. But for those plants na I believe yung may mga bulb, for example, yung caladiums, kahit wala na sila, deads na sila talaga. Sabi ko, didiligan ko pa rin lahat ng pots na to. And then, true enough, after a week, ang daming yung may mga bulbs, they sprouted. So
Yes.
You shouldn't give up on agad on some plants, but of course you have to accept that plants die. So even if they do, then ganun lang, you have to move on and learn from the experience. Yan.
So everyone, all of our panelists echo the same thing. So don't give up. Just because a plant dies, hindi ibig sabihin kasalanan mo, hindi rin ibig sabihin, maybe sila.
Not you, it's them.
It's you. You have to learn. So I think it's also the same with almost anything that we have or we do in our lives, be it in a relationship, plans, learnings, career, etc., etc. I think it's the same. So don't give up. Sometimes kapag may nakita kang hope, mayroon pang node na maliit, sabi nga ni Cooky kanina, meron pang chance yan, even caladiums nga, and alocasias, especially kung mga bulbs sila. So they really go through a dormancy period. So akala mo wala na sila, dead na sila, bakit nawala lahat ng dahon? Pero bigla ka na lang magugulat one day, buhay pa. Naalala ko yung White Christmas ni Gia before. Akala niya,
Ay, may quick kwento ako about phytonias. Diba yung phytonias, minsan gumaganon sila pag need nila ng water. Yeah. Yung helper ko, akala niya dead na, tinapon niya. Proactive.
Nangyari din yan sa akin. Nangyari din yan sa akin before. I wanted to achieve yung parang may vines na naka-frame sa door. And seasonal siya. Mukha talaga siyang deads pag mga December, tapos babalik siya ulit ng summer. And nag-travel kami, tapos pagbalik ko, proud na proud pa yung driver namin na tinanggal ko kasi ganyan-ganyan. Proud pa siya na parang,
diba? Ay, nako.
Ayun. So I hope, Nerissa, we were able to answer your question. So in line with that naman, kasi diba, yun nga ang question ni Nerissa kanina was, what do you do when your plants die or when you bounce back? So given that na meron talagang mamamatay, what are the greatest challenges? What are your greatest challenges when taking care of plants? And what are the most difficult plants to care for. So yun yung magkadikit na Gia tumutulong kay Warok. Ayun. So maybe mix it up lang. Let's start with Doc Joanne muna now.
Okay.
So yun, what are the greatest challenges in taking care of plants for you? And ano yung plants na most difficult for you to take care of?
I guess the greatest challenge sa plants, for me yung scheduling. Kasi before when I was a student, kaya ko siyang i-schedule yung pag-water, pag-prune. Because I had a regular schedule back then. Now that I'm practicing, hindi kasi regular yung schedule. So it's just kapag naalala ko sila, which I try my best to, pag naalala ko in a week, doon ko lang sila mapupuntahan, ganun, and ma-check. So that's the challenge right now. But yung most challenging plants naman, for me kasi I collect more of cactus and succulents. The most challenging still is succulents. It's weird kasi usually yung mga when you want someone to start the plant hobby, usually yung binibigay ng iba, most common yung succulents. But feeling ko kaya maraming nadi-discourage kasi very easy mamatay yung succulents. Even now, lagi akong nakapatay ng succulent. So, that's the most challenging plant for me. Kasi unlike yung ibang plants, especially the leafy ones, relatively easier sila eh. But the succulents, challenging talaga. You don't know what's the problem. Binigay mo na lahat. Mamamatay pa rin sila. It looks good one day and then the next day, deads na siya. So,
Wala na.
Oo, wala na. So that's it for me.
True.
Okay, what about Kai?
Yung biggest challenge for me is like, I have plants. It's possible na you have plants na 3 years na sa'yo, 5 years na sa'yo, akala mo, uy, okay na siya talaga kasi ang tagal na niya sa'yo. And then it starts to decline. So yun yung nagiging challenge for me. So like, for example, I had this fiddle leaf fig, 3 years or 4 years na siya sa akin. So parang akala ko okay siya. Pinangalanan ko pa siya si Beyonce. Ayan. Kaya sabi ko, wag yung pangangalanan. So bigla na lang nag-start mag-decline si Beyonce the fiddle last year. And talagang I don't know why. I couldn't understand. But then I realized na maybe ayaw niya talaga yun sa bahay namin. So what I did was, I gave it to my mother-in-law. And then, ayun, parang nabuhay siya, nagkaroon ng second life si Beyonce. So, yun. I have difficulties with ficuses in general, but I think it's really, you really need to understand sino yung magiging happy sa environment mo at sino yung hindi.
Yes, totally agree.
True. Very true.
So,
Super agree.
Gia.
Number one, since lumalaki na yung collection ko, it's getting harder for me to water them. Before kasi, dadaling ko sila sa balcony. That's where I water them para medyo shower type yung ano. So medyo challenging ngayon na buhatin yung plant, dalhin sa balcony, ibalik for 200 plants. So yun ang exercise ko na rin every week. But it became more challenging nga as I grew my collection. Yon. And then number two, this is more of a good problem pero challenge din for me is ang dami ko ng plants na sobrang trailing up na. I mean, pinupole ko na silang lahat. Baka by next month, lahat na ng plants ko nakapole. Which is a good thing, di ba? Kasi nga, it means they're thriving, they're growing. Pero nagiging challenge na siya for me kasi kung before kasya siya sa maliit na shelf, ngayon I have to find a new place for it na kasya yung mahabang pole. Yon, ang pinaka-challenging na plant, kanina ko pa siya tinuturo, is the Queen Aquarium, which I just recently got. So I'll show you. Yan. Ayan, medyo kumukulot na siya. Hindi ko alam kung bakit. Ito yung nasa top ng wishlist plants ko. So, medyo challenging siya for me ngayon kasi Hindi ko alam. Anong gusto mo?
It's not
Bakit
you,
siya
it's the plant.
Drama queen din siya kasi.
Oo, drama queen siya. Pero nag-a-adjust pa lang siya. I'm sure mag-a-adjust pa siya. Pero,
Yeah.
di ba, mabubuhay ka
Acclimate pa siya.
Oo, mag-acclimate pa siya. Very challenging siya for me kasi gusto daw niya ng high humidity. Pero pag tinapat ko naman lahat ng humidifier ko sa kanya, yan, nagkukulot na siya. So, tinry ko siya ilipat ngayon medyo malapit sa window para kung nababasa man ng humidifier yung leaves na medyo mag-dry din agad, nag-experiment pa ako, tinatry ko. But this is very challenging for me. Siguro mga velvety plants in general are medyo challenging talaga.
Yeah.
True.
Sorry,
So,
baby. Diva siya.
Cookie.
Okay. For me, siguro, one would be, again, because we also have, the rest of the other aspects of our lives, diba? So some of you are like parents, may mga asawa, we're working, ganyan. So for me, it's there are times talaga na managing siguro just the quantity. I don't even have as many. I've kind of downsized my collection na rin. Kasi I kind of manage it then. Like if I know na parang magiging extra busy ako, for this certain season or like I'll be joining a new role in the future, whatever, then I know na parang, okay, I won't be able to give as much time anymore to my plants. Or like there was a time na I would report to the office already, so I wasn't home as much anymore. So I want kasi na parang to always be a responsible plant parent. So if I know na sa akin, I cannot manage the quantity anymore, then I will downsize or will give it to plant parents who can really take care of them, diba? So yun. Also, the limitations of my condo. So I was seeing the tours of the home. Sabi ko, wow, ganda ng lighting. It's not the same for me. So I'm very limited in terms of my lighting. Like my windows are kind of limited and north facing, which is very weak in terms of light. So I really have to supplement it with grow light. So actually, thank you to Del Monte because I also have a Del Ponting grow light. So I have to supplement it. But then, because of that, there are really plants that I cannot really thrive. It really won't thrive no matter what I do in my environment. So like very highly variegated plants, as much as they are so beautiful, I really cannot because I cannot give them the light that they need. So similar to ficus also, because they're basically like trees, right? They need lots of light. So I've killed so many ficus already, like to my heart's dismay. Pero similar to what Kai did is the plants that I feel like cannot really thrive in my condo, I would move them. So like ang dami ko na rin plants in my parents' house. Like I have my own little garden there. All of the plants that I moved are there na rin. And sure enough, they're thriving because they're outdoor, they get more sun, they get more humidity. Yun, so parang it's also accepting na yun, the limitations din talaga of your space, which is not, it's nothing against you, diba? It's just you being a responsible plant parent. Aside from that, pests. So I really, really hate pests. Like, they are the vein talaga of our existence as plant parents. So yeah, but there are ways to manage, but they're definitely a challenge talaga. Especially if there's like an outbreak or yun, pag na-cluster and then one gets sick and then nagkakahawaan na. So yun talaga challenging siya. For me, other types of plants that I've had a hard time with also, yes, Calathea.
Yes.
So I think the only Calathea that survives sa akin is rattlesnake, yun lang. And then the rest.
Yes, ako rin, rattlesnake.
Oh my. Talaga, so sabi ko, okay, we do not, Calatheas do not like my environment. So sige, I will just, I will just step away from Calatheas na lang. So yun. So understanding which types really will thrive, and like you can always go with like philodendrons. There are so many kinds of phyllo, so you can just choose from there, and those will most likely survive and thrive in most living conditions. So just go with the ones that you can really take care of talaga. Yep.
Okay, so Earl?
Yeah, ako same with Kai and Cookie na rin. It's designing your space, not aesthetically, or not necessarily aesthetically, pero for it na will be suitable for your plants. Livable for your plants, yes. Kasi my condo is less than ideal. I only have a small window, so I keep the door open every day. Kaya lumalabas yung pusa ko all the time. And siya, if you can see her behind me. And then, studio siya, so naka-aircon ako at night. So I have to supplement yung humidity niya. So I have like 4 humidifiers naka-on right now kasi naka-aircon din ako. Kasi super important yun, especially if your plants or the plants that you have require higher amounts of humidity. They will hate aircon or magiging kalaban nila ang aircon. So you have to supplement that. Or you have to find a way to supplement that lack of humidity. Kasi aircon sucks up humidity. Kaya nga siya tumutulo. Kaya siya may tulo lagi, di ba? Pag naka-on siya. It's because it's sucking up the humidity from the room that it's in and para maging cool air siya, something like that. Sa aerodynamics, whatever. Anyway, tapos, yun din, light, it's one big factor. When I was starting out, wala pa akong konsepto ng grow lights or anything. That's why I noticed parang sobrang lagi silang namamatay. Lagi ako may kinugupit na leaf. It was because I didn't have enough lighting in my condo. So it will be an investment. I must say, you will have to shell out money and effort na rin in my case kasi ako lang nagkabit ng mga ilaw ko. So naging natuto din ako ng basic electronics, ganyan. So that you can supplement the light. Like for example, itong shelf na to that barely receives any light during the day. So I have to have grow lights there. And then yun. Then the most recent challenge siguro that I've had is yung baby kitten. Yung kitten ng cat ko kanina. Ito, actually just now, yan, may pinunit siya na leaf. So I'm still training it na propagation ko to ng Cebu Blue, pero pinunit niya. Kasi naabot niya, pinaglaruan niya. Yan, pinunit niya just now. So I'm still training him.
Ng bite marks.
May bite marks, pinupunit, kinakagat, kung anong nilalaro. Tinutumba, oh my God. Just ko, I've had so many plants na tinutumba both itong dalawang pusa ko. So, yeah, that can also be a challenge if you have medyo rowdy, energetic pets. If you're like Gia na very, thankfully, hindi naman ginagalaw yung plants niya, then you're lucky. But if you're like me na laging kinakalkal yung plants, then that can be a challenge, especially for those who have pets. Yun.
Ayun. Okay. So, I hope we were able to answer your questions. And let's move to the next question. Guys, okay pa kayo?
Yeah.
Maybe last two questions?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Hold on. Okay. There are questions here. May question dito na. What were your challenges? What were your mistakes? What are the mistakes that you made early on in your plant journey? And what are, siguro itahi na lang natin sila. Also, like, how do you deal with yung usual questions ng mga plant parents who are starting in their journey, like yellowing leaves, curling leaves, root rot, and pests. Siguro if we can summarize how we deal with these things, tips, hacks maybe, and how you treat them. So let's start naman with Gia.
Ako, okay. Dati, medyo affected ako kapag when I see browning leaves and yellow leaves. Kasi diba, we want our plants to be perfect, to look perfect. And then later on ko lang na appreciate na it's part of their beauty also when they hindi lang beauty but part of their nature na old leaves will die. The good thing about taking care of plants is they tell you actually, they can communicate with you, they tell you what they need, diba? Pag si Waro nagko-curl siya. So, it's telling me na may problem, na meron siyang hindi gusto sa environment na meron siya. So, yun yung maganda sa plants, sa understanding your plant's needs. I do also research, like what I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of available information online on why these things happen to our plants, to specific plants. Kanina minention ni Cooky na yung mga ficus nahirapan siya. Sa akin naman sobrang nag-thrive yung mga rubber trees ko. So, I know a couple of people na hirap din mag-alaga ng rubber trees. Pero sa akin, sobrang happy naman sila. Alam mo yun? So, iba-iba talaga eh. You just have to do your research, pay attention to your plants, kasi they will show you what they need and they will tell you what you can do for them, diba? If they need more water, less water, more sun, fertilizer, yung mga ganyan. And it's also good to ask expert or fellow plant parents kasi yung experience nila may be same or maybe different with yours. So it helps to ask questions na, uy, bakit kaya nangyayari ito sa plant ko, ganyan. And it's good to build also a good relationship with your plant suppliers or your plant sellers para you can ask them questions pag, uy, ba't kaya may spots akong nakikita dito, ganyan. So they can help you understand and how to care for the plants better.
So, next, Kai.
Yeah, so I think yung mga 3 biggest mistakes ko before, especially when I was starting pa lang, is watering. So I think it's very common for new plant parents to think na, plant yan, mahilig yan sa water. Water ko yan araw-araw. Yung iba pa, water na.
Yes.
Water na, sa umaga, yung water pa daw sa gabi.
No.
So, yun yung first na naging challenge ko was understanding talaga the role of water sa plants and how much water they need and things like that. So that was one of my biggest challenges. And then second is soil. Dati, malay ko ba, alam ko lang, lupa siya. So, I will just use whatever soil is there. Hindi ko din alam yung mga kailangan mo palang mag-mix. And then I also didn't know na there's soil na okay outdoors, but you can't really use it indoors. So yun yung mga naging challenge ko before. But now I feel like I'm confident na with my soil mix. So okay na yan.
Yeah.
And then, yung third na naging challenge ko was, I would really just put plants indoors, even in dark corners. Kasi yung feeling ko, nakita ko sa TV nilagay niya yung rubber plant niya sa opisina niya. Bakit gano'n? Tapos yung akin mamatay. Yung gano'n, very naive in that aspect. But then, na-discover ko yung grow lights and sobrang game changer for me yung grow lights. I really love grow lights. I've been using grow lights for maybe 3 or 4 years na. So, fan talaga ako ng grow lights. So, yun yung 3 challenges for me.
How about Dr. Joanne?
One of my early mistakes is getting a lot of plants na hindi ko pala kayang i-manage. Just like Cooky and Earl, I live in a condo na limited yung space and yung light conditions. So, especially ako, I collect more of cactus. So, they need a lot of sun, direct light. So, I just realized nung madami na sila na I just have this corner in my house wherein yun lang talaga yung may direct sun. So, some of them, syempre, papangit yung form nila pag hindi sila naka-direct sun. So, I had to give away some and then get more plants na mas mag-fit in my living conditions. And then sorry, what was the other question again? Yung
tips in taking care of plants, for example, yellowing leaves, curling leaves.
Yeah, I guess different plants have different needs, but you just have to know the basic elements na light, water, soil, and air. So you have to know all of kahit yung those 4 lang for your specific plants, mahirap siyang sabihin kasi yun nga, we have different plants, but you can always do research, be active in the plant community sa IG, Facebook, join plant groups. There are a lot of plant groups. If you have specific plants, i-search nyo lang siya sa Facebook group. Merong group for it. So you can learn a lot about other people. Doon pa lang, sobrang dami mo nang makukuhang info. Yun.
Cooky.
For me, siguro mistake when I was starting out was similar to Doctora. Was yun, siguro masyadong I went with the flow too much na parang kahit hindi ko alam kung ano yung plant na to, sige bili lang kasi mukha siya maganda, ganyan. Tapos hindi ko alam na parang shucks, hindi pala siya bagay dito sa condo ko because I cannot give it what it needs, diba? So I really super agree and I echo na do your research, like try to understand first what kind of plant is this, what does it need before you go out and get it, diba? And then I think siguro a tip then also is I think really as you go along in your plant journey, you will really know and learn more and more what works for you. So for example, like, well, one is I know now what types of plants work or really will really grow in my condo. Second is the way that I water. So before, pag condo kasi, di ba, mas, ano ka, mas prone ka to kulob. Yan din yung challenge with condos, di ba? So, and then because parang siguro with the way I was watering, I would have like fungus gnats na infestations, which really like bugged me down. And then I researched and then I discovered the beauty. There's such a thing as bottom watering. So I don't know if how many do bottom watering, but for me it works. So it really may not work for others. Others really, because I don't have a balcony, so I cannot like do yung showers. I don't have a bathtub either, so I cannot ano. So, but for me, the bottom watering, I've been doing bottom watering for siguro for a year na, and it's really helped my plants. Like, they stay alive more. I have less pests. Kasi parang they suck up the water that they need there. And so it's less prone to overwatering, so ayun, I have less casualties already because I don't overwater them anymore. So yun, and even the type of pot, actually, I also found that that's a factor also to the health of your plant. Like for me, I found that plastic pots work better for me than terracotta. Because terracotta, they tend to dry out faster. I don't have the time to check if everyone is thirsty already, given my schedule. So the plastic pot, it holds the moisture longer. So for me, it works. So para aesthetic pa rin, I put na lang the plastic pots in nice pots, in cover pots, in baskets, o dami ka ring baskets, ganyan. So you can still ano. So those things though, you will learn and they could be very like specific to you, given talaga your conditions and who you are then as a plant parent. So get to know that and give yourself time to learn as you go along. And again, it's okay to make mistakes along the way. There will really be casualties, but then those casualties will serve so that you become a more knowledgeable, more mature plant parent as you move along. So yeah, that's it for me.
Yun. How about you, Earl?
Our biggest challenge ko talaga, even up to this day, super overwaterer ako. Like, kasi nga very restless ako. Minsan when I'm bored, I water. Pag feeling ko, matamlay na yung plant, I water. Or minsan nilalagay ko pa yun ng fertilizer ng rooting hormone. So I managed to kill, believe me, several plants because of overwatering. Nag-root rot, nag-stem rot, nagka-fungal infection, nagka-bacterial blight, and what have you. So, yun. And parang dun ko na-realize, okay, masyado na ako nag-adjust to my plants. Why not pag-adjustin ko rin yung plants ko somehow? So, yun, because I started experimenting on things. So, that's when yun, parang one thing na ano ko na for me to be able to still be somehow of an overwaterer, but at the same time, I don't risk killing my plants is either, yun, I changed my medium. A lot of my plants now are in leca. If you're not familiar with leca, I'll show you when ito sila yung balls na to. It's very helpful kasi you see kung gaano nakataas or kababa yung water level. So you know when you should or shouldn't be watering. And then yung mga nasa soil-based ko naman na pots, ang ginawa ko, plants rather, ginawa ko, binutasan ko yung pots nila para kahit gaano kadami ako magdilig, kahit gaano kadalas magdilig, indoor lang yung environment ko. Yun nga, like what Cooky said, tendency niyan is magkukulob. The pots dry out much slower, which could lead to root rot. Di binutasan ko so that there's better airflow, it will dry up much faster so that at least ako, yung pleasure ko of watering is not really, hindi naman siya na push back, and at the same time I don't risk killing my plant, so at least it's somehow a win-win situation. So you could do the same thing for yourselves. If you think overwaterer kayo, you can try what I did, or kung kaya nyo mag-adjust pa, bawasan nyo yung watering nyo, or if underwaterer naman kayo, yun, plastic might be a better pot for you kasi they dry out much slower than terracotta or other types of pots. So it's very important na pakiramdaman nyo ang isa't isa, you and your plants, and also this is what I always say, always do your research. Google ka, punta ka sa Instagram, magtanong, lagay ka lang ng question na story, lalo na sa plant community, madaming sasagot sa'yo, believe me. pwedeng ako pa mismo sasagot niyan. Promise ko yan, if finalo niyo ako sa Instagram, I'll try to answer. And everyone else here then, you can go to YouTube if you want a video type material. Kasi the information is just there waiting for us. It's just a matter of us getting that information, using it, and applying it to our plans. So, research. Huwag tayong, kumbaga, huwag tayong kampante, huwag tayong tamad to do our research. Kasi it's for us, and most especially it's for our plants din naman. Yun.
So true. Ayun. Ako naman, I'll share, nung bago yung house namin in Laguna, nagdala na talaga ako ng mga halaman. So, meron akong salum, meron akong kalateya, o di ba? Ang tapang, kalateya.
Tapang!
Tapos, I think the biggest mistake ko nung nagsa-start ako pa lang ng ornamental plants was, ayoko kasi yung site nung soil. So, naglalagay ako ng bato sa top ng soil. So, I think that's one of the biggest mistakes I did before nung nagsa-start ako. Diba? And I think a lot of plant parents now na nagsa-start, ganun yung ginagawa nila. So, naglalagay sila ng maraming bato and hindi makahinga yung plant. Diba? Natatrap din yung moisture sa loob. Tapos doon nagsa-start yun na yung mga kung ano-anong pest, ganyan. So, you can use moss, you can use yung mga cocoa fiber, perlite, perhaps i-mix nyo na lang para hindi siya puro itim-itim na soil. Leca is also one of the good choices din for your soil. Yung medium na gagamitin nyo kung ayaw nyo ng mga itsura ng soil na parang madumi or ganyan. So ano pa ba, yung mga challenges ko before, akala ko pare-pareho lang sila na parang pwedeng diligan ng sabay-sabay. But eventually, yun nga, you will learn, you have to research, and tatandaan mo rin talaga kung ano talaga yung nag-work para sa plants mo. And again, tulad nung sabi ng ating mga panelists, your environment really matters. Do your research. Talk to the plant community because they are really very helpful. Kasi ang instinct talaga ng mga tao sa plant community is to save the plant. Save the plant.
Yes.
So kahit anong question mo, talagang sasagot sila sa'yo. So yun, it's very important to have a very helpful community. Yun. Tapos, I think the other questions, we can do quick answers even after the webinar. But unfortunately, that's all the time that we have for today. And believe me, sobrang gusto ko pa pong i-extend.
Ang dami pang
Magpa-poll ka kung
pwedeng
mag-extend ba tayo or
pag-usapan.
hindi.
Aming VP, sir, pwede ba kami mag-extend? Kidding. Tumatawa na si Sir sa akin. But we know how busy everyone's schedule is magkakaiba din tayo. And of course, our panelists, thank you so much for giving us.
Thank you for this opportunity.
So we really hope that we are able to address your concerns. We are able to give tips on how to take care of plants and how to start your plant parent journey. Ayun. So I will, before I close the webinar, I will invite our VP of Sales and Marketing, Mr. Joseph Isaac Mirabueno, to do a closing remark for us.
Hi, Donna. Thank you. Wow, super insightful discussion. I might need to watch this again. Buti na lang we recorded it because to absorb all the learnings from our now favorite plant experts. Thank you. I'm thankful also for the chance to speak and share in behalf of Megaworld Prime RFO as we try to add value to our lives and the lives of our loves. Our lives and our loves are yung mga minamahal nating halaman. On this afternoon discussion about plants, people, and of course, properties. We've learned a lot of useful tips and foolproof ideas from our distinguished plant enthusiasts and experts on how to surround ourselves with a healthier lifestyle, and more importantly, how to benefit from them. So far, For all our attendees, do you already have a favorite plant? Meron na ba? We've asked our experts, no, our plant enthusiasts earlier what their favorite plants are. But how about our attendees? We also want to know what your favorite plant is. No, comment down below. In this discussion of plants, yeah, we will look at their answers later. In this discussion of plants, people, and properties, what do all these three have in common? No, they require proper care and attention. They all look beautiful and they can all live happily ever after together. So I also did some research on what the proper care for plants is, or what the proper care for plants are. And I'll use an acronym to describe it. We'll use LAWN. No? LAWN. LAWN is LAWN stands for light, air, water, and nutrition. Ang L, may Filipino counterpart din yan. Ang light or liwanag. Vitamin D. Tama ba, Doc? Light is essential for all. Even babies need a dose of sunshine each morning to give them enough energy to support immunity and our bones. Tayo rin, actually. Lahat tayo, we all need at least an hour of sunshine a day for a healthier and stronger immune system and body. All of Megaworld's RFO units have right-sized balconies. Right-sized windows. Some even almost floor to ceiling for maximum lighting. We've also received numerous awards and recognitions for design, concept, and of course beauty. Most of our developments also have right-sized balconies, as I was saying, that will be suitable for perfect for those who voted for balcony for plants earlier. The best place to put plants. For those looking to invest in properties for your plants, since the limit does not exist, Donna, sabi mo, di ba? So you need to buy a unit for your plants, more units for more space for your plants. Be conscious of your next visit to us, to our properties, and check whether the unit is facing east or west. No? Marami naman tayong pagpipilian dyan. So the plantitos and the plantitas may zoom in to units facing east or west. Remember Sky's tips. It's really just a preference for those who love and are passionate about plants. East is for morning sunrise, while west is for afternoon sunset tan of your plants. Both supply a great dose of haring araw we can all benefit from. So if it's light that you need, come over to us and we will supply you with a lifetime dose of sunshine. Sabi nga nila, mas malinaw pa sa sikat ng araw bukas. How about air? Air naman. Prime RFO units have strategic operable windows to allow natural air to flow in. These windows are angled for maximum airflow, but still protect the safety of the people and now the plants living inside it. Water. Sabi nila, water is life. Has anyone experienced taking a shower in the middle of the shower? The water goes dry, no? Completely disappears like magic. Even up to now, in some areas, unfortunately, you have to be conscious of the water schedule. Now we can be assured that this will never happen again. Not for us, nor for our plants. You have an overflowing fresh supply of potable water through our overhead water tanks and underground cistern reservoir. Our units are also equipped with another water feature that you wouldn't want to mess with naman. Who can guess? A water feature inside your own home. It's actually the water sprinkler system. But this is also essential for the protection and safety of naman our properties. So I told you we all need the same protection and care, right? So lastly, N is for nutrition. Whichever project or unit you are eyeing, all Megaworld locations are strategic and ideal. We've also pioneered and championed the township concept that everyone really appreciated, especially during this pandemic. Everything is within safe distance for your plant care and for your personal care. To end this, I simply look forward to the time and the chance to meet everyone who attended today and hopefully start a plant group like Ma'am Cooky and Gia said. It pays to join a plant community and gain more plantito and plantita friends. So we can all start a plant community of Megaworld condominium dwellers so we can continue with this discussion. Mukhang bitin no? And be able to share the good news and benefits of choosing the best. The best people, the best plants, and the best Megaworld property for you. Pero para sa akin, personally, kayo ang the best for attending this webinar. So thank you very much to all the attendees, to all our distinguished plant experts, Juana, and to the team. And, stay safe and have a good day to all.
Again, Megaworld properties are thoughtfully created with different recreations in mind for different kinds of people, personalities, and interests, including taking care of plants. Our properties have well-placed windows that invite natural light and balconies that help enlarge the living spaces to take in the view of a well-planned township or integrated community. So to all those who stayed with us from 2 o'clock until now, I'm sure you will be well rewarded as we have pre-selected the raffle winners or raffle draw prizes for today. So I won't keep it keep it longer. I will announce it directly. So third prize, we will be giving you wine from Barefoot. Our winner is Solita Panty. Congratulations. And then our second prize winner is going to receive a set of 3 rattan basket from Casa Apollo. The winner is Helen Edelweiza. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that correctly, but Helen Edelweiza. Congratulations for winning the native rattan basket from Casa Apollo. And for our first prize, you will get a Wild at Home hardbound book by Hilton Carter. Sobrang ano yan, nasa wishlist yan ng mga plantitas and plantitos. Congratulations, Angelo Umengan. Ayun. That's it for our webinar this afternoon. We hope that we have made your afternoon educational, productive, and fun. Thank you so much for attending today's event. Thank you to our sponsors, our partners, and of course, the member of our panel and our speakers. Thank you so much for sharing with us your time and knowledge as well about plants and your plant parenthood journey. And before we officially end the webinar, if you have any questions, we would like to know more details about our ready for occupancy properties. Our property specialist will be more than glad to assist you right after this event. Please connect with them. That's it. Thank you so much. Have a plant-filled afternoon, everyone.